Do arrays and objects ever stress you out? Are you ever sitting there thinking like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I get it? Maybe I should have been smarter. Maybe I should have became a doctor like my dad told me. Well, not anymore. Things like mapping and filtering and reducing and all kinds of other stuff that might give you a headache. I promise after this video, that won't be the case anymore. In this video, you're gonna go from very beginner concepts of arrays and objects all the way to more intermediate, and might I even say advanced, because there are some higher order functions like map, reduce, filter that we're going to learn about. And those are going to be very, very, very helpful. And I will also tell you this, a lot of the way that you've been doing things like summing up numbers or whatnot are actually wrong and outdated, and you shouldn't be using that anymore. JavaScript now has a more functional way of doing things. And so even if you're more intermediate or advanced, I bet you'll learn something new, and there are mistakes you're making that this video will help you stop making. With that said, this video will have exercises for you to do for arrays and objects so you can get your skills up. Smash that like button. And with that said, let's just get into it. If you're wondering who I am, I'm Refactoring. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Programmer. And the first thing we're gonna do when we start this is I want you to go ahead and open and go to replit.com, replit.com, because there you can actually code along with me in JavaScript, and it's a full IDE, and it's very easy, very fast, and it's completely free. So make sure to just go to replit.com right now and just follow along with me as we code the rest of this. In the video that you're going to be watching is actually a clip of me teaching a JavaScript course, but if you just follow along from complete scratch and you just open up your own Replit, you should be able to follow along. If you want access to that specific JavaScript course, that's also completely free, and we'll link it down below, and you can go ahead and fork that REPL, which means that you just get access to that entire course and all the content and all the materials so you could reference it. But I want you right now starting from complete scratch. Just go to replit.com and start from complete scratch. With that said, let's just jump right into the video. All right, so now let's jump in and start talking about arrays. And right before we do that, let's go ahead and comment out every single line that is still running. So line 108, for me, I'm gonna comment out, and I'm also gonna comment out line 121. And so when I hit run, nothing should be coming out to my console. Perfect, my console is looking crispy clean. That's exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and start working on arrays. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna say arrays. Okay, and why do you need arrays? Well, what if you want to hold multiple different things? How are you going to do that? So if you have groceries, right, in a variable, you could only have one grocery, like a fruit. But arrays allow you to have multiple things. So for example, I could have an array that has a banana. It also has apple. Okay, I can also have orange. Okay, we can also have a pear. Right, I could have groceries like this, and you could write the words too. So this is just a string, and I decided to put an emoji in it, but you could decide to put like the actual word pear here if you want, but I just think that this looks prettier, right? So that's why I'm having it like this. Now if I'm doing, all right, and remember to just put a const here. Okay, so we're just gonna say const groceries, and here we go. We have all of these, you know, we got a banana, we got an apple, we got all this awesome stuff in our groceries, right? Now let's console log groceries. Okay, and let's hit save, and let's see what happens. I'm gonna move this here, and boom, you can actually see that it printed out all of the groceries. Okay, now how do I get just a banana if I want, right? So if you click it, it shows you the 0th element is a banana, the first is the apple, the second is orange, and the third is pear. Okay, and remember, everything in coding, when you start counting, it usually starts from 0. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3. And the length of this is 4. Okay, because there are 4 items in here. So 4 grocery items. Now, how can we get just a banana if we want just a banana? How do we do that? Well, here's what we do. We go console log groceries, and we put this bracket, and we do 0. Okay, and let me hit save, and let's see. Boom, we just got the banana. Okay, well, what if I want an apple? What do I do? Can you take a guess? I'll give you 5 seconds. See if you could write that yourself. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do it. So you would have to put in a 1 here. Okay, so boom, let's do that. Let's do a 1. Let's hit save, and boom, you see we got an apple. Now, how would I get not the orange, but the pear? So how would I get the pair? Make sure to count correctly. 0, 1, 2, 3, right? How would I get the pair? What do I need to put in these brackets to get that pair? I'll give you 5 seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do it. We would do 3, okay? And you can see that we got the pair, okay? So again, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, okay? If we want to get the orange, we would simply pop in a 2 here, okay? Let's give that a try. Make sure you're coding along with me and you're just exercising with me, okay? Make sure you're not just passively watching this. Make sure you're coding along with me every single step of the way. That's how you're going to get better. So this is called indexing, okay? This is like you grab one of the indexes, okay? So here I'm grab the second or like the third index in this case, okay? Or second index, okay? Grab the second index. That's basically what we're doing here. Or grab the second item if you want to say it in a more human language. But in programming, this is a 0th index. This is the first, second, third. So if you ever hear like, hey, it's in the first index or the third index, that just means where its position is in an array, okay? And arrays are really, really cool. And I'll show you a lot more about them soon. All right, so take a look at that, right? At the bottom, you can see that, and let me comment out this line here, okay? And let's run it again. And I'll move this up over here so it's easier to see. But take a look at this, right? Over here. Before we add the cookie and we console log this out, notice that there's no cookie in here, right? But after we do the push and we console log it out, watch what happens. Now we have a cookie that's added that wasn't there before. So that's what push does. Push adds things onto the end of the array, okay? So try adding something else. Try adding a chocolate. Try adding a blueberry. Try adding something and see what happens and see if you could do it yourself, okay? So add something more here. You give this a try. So I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now let's try adding something together. So I'm going to say groceries.push, okay? And we're going to say, let's do blueberries, okay? And then I'll console log here, paste it here, hit save and run. And check it out. We got one, the regular groceries array. Then we got this with the cookie this time, okay? And then we push the blueberry. And you can see there's a blueberry at the end there. So that's how the push method works. Okay, great. So let's comment out all of these for now, all the console logs. So if you run your code, you should see basically nothing. Okay, it should be empty just like this. Perfect. Now what we want to do is we want to try grabbing, like, what if I only wanted the banana? Okay. What if I only wanted the banana and the apple? Okay, those are the only two things. Or the orange and the pear, and that's all I wanted, okay? Well, for this, there is a method called slice. Okay, so we're going to do that. So we're going to say groceries, and I'm going to say slice, and I'm going to say 0 to 2, and let's see what happens. Okay, and let's make sure we do console, wrap this in console.log. Because otherwise it won't show it to the screen. Let's hit Command Enter or Control Enter. And boom, look at that. We're getting banana and apple. So it's starting from 0, including 0. Okay. So basically what we're saying is start from 0, inclusive, and up to 2. Okay. But not including 2. Okay. So basically it's giving you, the index this is giving you is either 0 or 1. That's the index it's giving you. So it's either giving you this or that, okay? So if you want to get the first 2 elements, you can do it like this, okay, up to 2. If you want to get 3 elements, you do this, okay? So if I run this, it's going to get me 3 elements. If I do 4 and run it, watch what happens. It's going to give me pretty much all of the elements, right? If I hit 5, it's going to give me the cookie as well that we added. And if I do 6, it's going to give me all the way up until the blueberries that we've added, because we still have the push, groceries.push there. Boom, so you can see the blueberries. So when I do 0 to 6, it's going to go from 0 to actually the 5th index and give me up to that point. Cool. All right, now question for you. What if I wanted not from 0, but if I wanted from right here, the pear until the blueberry? So what if I wanted this part of the array? Can you splice that and get that out of the array for me, please? Take a few seconds. Take 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's work on it together. Okay, so I'm going to try and I'm going to do, okay, let's do up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, like that. This is just an example. So let's do console.log and we're going to do groceries.slice. And I'm going to say, so let's actually count together. Okay, so we have 0, 1. Thank you, baby. Appreciate it. 2, 3. Okay. So basically we're going to say give us from 3 to 4, 5, and 6. But it's going to go up until 5. Okay. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go 3 to 6. And let's see if this gives us what we want. So I'm going to hit run. And boom, it gives us from a pear to a blueberry. Let's try another example, okay? And keep doing this with me. Don't get lazy on this. Keep trying this with me while I take a sip of my water that my girlfriend brought me. But try getting me apple to a pear, okay? Try getting me this right over here, okay? Take a second and see if you can get me those 3 right here, okay? So take about 5 seconds, all right? 5, 4, or take a little bit longer while I sip this water. Okay. So let's give that a try. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this to a 1 because 1 will get me the apple and it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 ahead of the one that we need. Okay. And we'll go 4. Let's hit run. And I get apple to a pear exactly like I wanted, right? It was that's what I wanted. And that's what we got. Perfect. Very, very good. Very good. Okay, let's keep making progress now. All right, so now before we graduate from Slice, and if you notice that I changed my shirt, I just had to do an interview because my girlfriend is a WoW superhero. She's Candy Crush. And they're doing a documentary on her. So I had to go do the interview and I had to change my shirt because I wanted something black. And my previous shirt was yellow and nice and poppy. And so I don't know why I'm telling you that, but thought you should know. Let's go back. All right. So here, groceries, slice. So this is good. But before we graduate, I'm going to teach you about 2 different array methods. Okay, so there are a couple of array methods that I want you to know. So we went over slice, we went over push. I want you to learn index of, and I want you to learn length. Okay, this is probably the most one of the most common ones, length. So let's just go through it together real quick. So now I'm going to say console.log and we'll do groceries. Okay. And I'm going to do index of, and what index of does, it will give me the index of these fruits. Okay. So let me just comment out these slices out here. So I'm going to hit run. Let's just run that one so we can see all of our groceries or fruits. Perfect. And so index of, what it's going to do is if I ask for the index of orange, it's going to literally give me what the index of that is. So can you tell me what the index of the orange is? For example, banana is 0, apple is 1. So orange is, you guessed it, 2. So let's see what it says. All right, so let's uncomment these lines and let's go here and we're going to pop in orange here. Okay, and we're going to say, hey, what's the index of this orange? Let's run it. And it just gave back 2. All right, let's ask it about the pear. And let's run it. And it gave back 3 because this is 3. Okay, so that's what index of does. Helpful to kind of know. You won't be using it too often. I mean, honestly, when I'm coding, majority of the times I don't use it, but I just thought since this is the array section, I cover these methods because they're going to be helpful for you. All right, I'll comment this out for now. So index of, and then the other method you need to know is dot length. Okay, so that one is going to be important. So let's go ahead and do console dot log groceries. And can you guess what length is going to tell you? Dot length. Length starts from 1. And so it will take the overall length of this. So however many items are in here is going to give you that back. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So length is going to give you back 6. All right, let's give it a try and let's run it. Boom, there we go. See that 6 right there? That's it. That's what length does. Okay, perfect. So now we can basically say you've graduated from arrays. Yay, good job. There's a bunch more to it, but this is just an oversimplified, what arrays can do. You'll learn a lot more about arrays a lot better once we get to the loops, because there's a lot of cool things you could do with arrays. They're like my favorite thing in coding. I think arrays are literally my favorite thing. And next up, we're going to start learning about objects. Okay, so let's go ahead and start learning about them now. All right, now let's talk about objects. So here's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to comment out line 144 and 135. So there's nothing being printed. Okay, let's go ahead and hit run. And look at that. We have nothing coming out to the console log. That's perfect. All right, now let's go ahead and let's talk about objects. Objects are really, really important and they're really awesome. So in just 1 second, we're going to work on, right when I snap my fingers, we're going to work on a new object. All right, this is the object we're going to be working on. So as you can see here, we have Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio. He's our object in this case, and he has a couple of properties. So his properties are, he has a name. So if you do person.name, we need to set that to Leonardo. And then his shirt here will be white. Okay, because if you can actually see, his shirt is white back there. So we need to create an object that actually represents that. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to put him over here kind of in the corner so you can see him. And let's create an object to represent that. So we're going to say const person, and object is created by doing these squigglies. Okay, so these squigglies represent an object. So far right here, we have created essentially an empty object. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some properties to that person object. Okay, so we're going to add a name. So the name of this person in this case will be Leonardo, and shirt will be white. This is an object. If I format this, you see this is how an object looks. If you want to make it look a little bit like prettier and kind of how pros write, pros would probably make it look like that. Okay, kind of how it looks like here. So open squiggly, close squiggly. It doesn't matter if you have it on the same line or you don't. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which way you have it. Both ways will work. All right, now this here pretty fairly represents what we have over here. You have a person object. The name is Leonardo, shirt is white. Now let's go ahead and console log and access some of the properties of this object that we created. So we're going to do person.name. And when I console this, you're going to see that the person name, and I'm going to move this up here. Okay, when I run this, you can see that the person name is indeed Leonardo. Kind of just like what we wanted, right? In the start. And can you guess what person.shirt is going to give me when I type that in and when I hit run? Take a guess. Exactly. You're going to get white. Okay, just like we had expected here, because those are the properties and that's how you access them. So that's how objects work. So first, let's learn different ways of accessing this object, okay? Dot notation versus bracket notation. Both of these you should know. Okay, so how do you access an object? So right now you're using a dot notation. Now here's an example of a bracket notation. Let's do console.log and we're going to say person and we're going to do name like this. And let's run it and boom, you also get Leonardo right over here. Well, give it a try. Try doing the shirt, but with the bracket notation. Try accessing it. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's see if you got it. So I just triple clicked to copy, and then I did Command C to copy, and then I went down and did Command V to paste. You could do Control C or Control V to copy and paste, and then double click the name inside here. Change that to shirt. Hit Command S or Control S if you're on Windows to save and automatically run. Apparently it's not automatically running, so let's run. Click the button here or Command Enter, and boom, you can see that the shirt is coming out white, right? So we got different ways access an object. That's really good. Now there are different ways to assign things to an object as well. So for example, I could give him a phone number. Okay, so I could actually do person.phone. So notice we don't actually have phone in here. And I could do phone, and we could give him a number like that. Okay, person.phone. And then we're going to go ahead and do console.log, and we'll say person.phone. Let's go ahead and try it, and let's see what happens. And boom, you can see that we actually get that phone number right there. But also you can actually console log the entire person as well. So you can see what that looks like. So let's go console log person. Let's go ahead, let's hit run. And you can see this object right over here, name, shirt, phone. So now this object has all of the things, and it didn't have that before. So it's kind of like how in arrays we were almost doing like push. It's kind of like that, but like it's just you're creating a new key on the fly and giving it a property. Another way you could actually create that property is by putting this in bracket notations as well. Okay, so you could go like this, bracket notation, and say, hey, person phone is actually equal to this. Hit run and watch what happens. Boom, you got the same thing, and that also works. So both work, okay? The reason why we're putting the phone number in quotes, by the way, as in we're making it a string, is because if you didn't do that, it would try to subtract, it would do 1 minus 222 minus 333 minus 444 and evaluate to a big negative number. That's not what we want, right? So put that in quotes because we want the exact phone number, and phone numbers are strings. All right, so now let's say you want to create another person. Okay, so I'll give you an exercise for you to do, and let's go ahead and do this right now. So I'm going to give you a different person with different name and different shirt, and I'm going to need you to create an object, a person object that represents that. Okay, so you can call that object person2. All right, so let's go ahead and do that here. You're going to call this object person2. All right, so now instead of Leonardo DiCaprio, we're going to get somebody better, yours truly. And you have the object right over here. Okay, so this is the object that you have, and these are the properties that this object have. Okay, so try to see if you can make this object by yourself. Either pause my video or take a couple of seconds right now to do this. But I'm going to start doing this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to basically say const person2, and I'm going to say name is Kazi, right? And make sure to put a comma. So after every property, right? So let's go through an object. So we have squigglies in the start and closing, okay? Instead of brackets. Arrays have brackets. And then you have a key and a value, all right? So objects are key value pairs, all right? So you have a key here and a value here, a key here and a value here, okay? So a key, you can also sometimes call it a property, okay? So here the key is name and the key is shirt, okay? And name and shirt is also the property. So you could say it kind of both ways. So you put in the key, right? Person name, and you get back the value, which is actually the name, right? You do the same thing here with the phone. So you take your object, you put in the key, right? And then that key unlocks, and we set this value for that key. Again, we do person.phone. So we did the object and the key, and then the key gives us the value, all right? And kind of think of it like opening a lock. All right, so name here. So this is the first key value. The second key value we're going to set is shirt is black, okay? And that's it. That's the way you represent this object, right? So if we do console log person2 and run it, boom, you can actually see that it's showing you Kazi and shirt is black, okay? That's super cool. And if I change this to, you know, what if I want Kazi's name? What if I only want the name? Can you try that for me? If I only want the name, boom, hopefully you got this correct. Okay, let's run it. And now we're getting the name. Well, what if I want the shirt as well? Same idea, right? If I run this, we're going to also now get the shirt. So shirt color, and we got it as black. So let's turn this into a function that then says, hi, my name is Kazi and my shirt is black. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a function. Okay, so remember how we create functions, right? There are different ways. You could do function, or you could do the fancy way like this. We'll call this function introducer because it introduces you to other people. okay? And this is gonna take in, let's say we can give it a shirt, and it will also take in a name. So let's go name and shirt, okay? And if we want to turn this whole thing into, and we're gonna do, if you want to do arrow functions, this is how we're gonna do them, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and say name comma shirt, and we're gonna do arrows like this, and we're gonna go here. All right, now the final sentence that we're gonna return, right, is gonna basically be, remember template literals. All right, so let's use the template literals again, and we're gonna say, hi, my name is name, okay, and we're just gonna say name like this for now. My name is name, and the color of my shirt is whatever the color of your shirt is. Okay, so in this case, it should be like black. So here, let's say if we had it hard coded, it would be like this, but we don't want it we don't want it hard coded, right? So what we're gonna do here is name. We're gonna make it dynamic. We're gonna say name, and remember, and see if you can make this shirt dynamic as well. Boom. We're gonna say shirt, and we're gonna save this into a variable called intro. The const intro is equal to that. But we're gonna make an object first. So just so you can keep practicing an object, okay? So we're basically gonna say, we're gonna create a const person object, and this object is going to have a key name, and the value of that key is also gonna be name, because that's what we're passing it. I'm just gonna say name right here, and it's also gonna have a shirt, and that's just gonna be the shirt that we pass it. Okay, so these are values that we're giving it. These are the actual keys that are hard-coded, okay? So these will stay the same. These will be exactly name and exactly shirt. And this part will be dynamic. These are the values that we give it. And so then we're gonna, in order to get this person's name, remember what we have to do, right? It's person dot name. Perfect. And now how are we gonna get this shirt? We're gonna do person dot what? Person dot shirt. Perfect. Good job if you kept up with that. Okay, so we're creating an object right here, and we're creating the intro, and now we're just gonna say return the intro. All right, that's our function, and let's give it a try. So let's go console.log, let's call our function introducer, and let's give it a name, Kazi, and let's give it a shirt color, and we'll say black, and let's run this, and look at that, right? We're getting, hi, my name is Kazi, and the color of my shirt is black. Beautiful. So we're using template literal. I mean, this is advanced. This is awesome if you're doing this. Good job for doing this. This is a ES6 arrow function, right? This function has 2 arguments, and you created an object in here, and then you're using template literals. So there are a lot of concepts in here that you're doing. So great job on following along and doing this with me. Even if you didn't get it, it's good that you just followed along and like did it, and hopefully you got it working on your computer. Like that's what's really important. So here I have this, and if I show you, right, hi, my name is Kazi, and the color of my shirt is black. Now let's go ahead and comment out all the other stuff that we had here, right? So I'm gonna comment this out. You can leave this or comment it out. I'll just comment it out. You can comment out pretty much all of this, okay? And I'll comment out this person right here too. And we'll just hit run, and it should just say, hi, my name is Kazi, and the color of my shirt is black. Okay, so the only console log that should be happening is the one coming from this function. This function is super cool because this function is like creating an object and then doing the template literals, accessing data from that object. Very nice. Okay, this is a very, very nice, well-written function. So good job if you got here so far. Now see if you can now do this, call the same function, but see if you can call it on Leonardo and with his shirt being white. So give that a try. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do it together. So I'm going to say console.log. We're going to say introducer, and we're going to say Leonardo here, right? And the shirt color is going to be white. These arguments have to match, right? So this matches that, and then this matches that. Okay, so these arguments, the order here matters. Okay, and let's run this and let's see if it does the Leonardo one as well, and it does. Hi, my name is Leonardo, and the color of my shirt is shirt. Okay, so we probably got to say white here. hi, my name is Leonardo and the color of my shirt is white. Beautiful. This is doing exactly what we want. We're going to go ahead and comment this out. And so far, you're doing absolutely fantastic. All right, now let's take this even a step further. Let's say that we want to have this person, but we also want to calculate and have their net worth. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page. And let's just uncomment the Kazi in black here. Perfect. My name is Kazi and the color of my shirt is black, blah, blah. Perfect. We want to say this person has certain assets. Okay, so assets they have is like, let's say $100,000. All right, and the debt they have is $50,000. So if you wanted to calculate the net worth, it's really easy. It's just assets minus debt, or assets minus, you could say, let's say liability. All right, so it's how much basically money do you have and then how much debt do you have. It's very simple for an average person. So if you want to calculate your net worth, you could do that right now. Like, it's very easy. You could have a negative net worth or a zero net worth. And if you have a positive net worth, that's incredible. So here you would have a net worth of 50,000, right? 100,000 minus 50,000. We could do that, right? And so we could say, and my net worth is, and I could do this, and I could basically say person.assets minus person.liability. Liabilities, and paste that there. Okay, so let's run this and let's see what we get. Hi, my name is Kazi and the color of my shirt is black and my net worth is $50,000. We could put a $sign here, right? And we could say, you don't need to say USD, but you could if you want. And it says, my name is blah, blah. My net worth is $50,000 USD. So this $sign is pretty much to actually put a $sign, and then the next $sign and squigglies are to basically say, hey, I'm writing JavaScript. So let's make this even nicer. I'm going to teach you how to create methods inside of an object, okay? And anytime you've seen met something, that's usually a method, okay? When you're calling it. So like math.floor. Remember when you saw math.floor? Math.floor. This is a method. If you didn't have this math part here and it was just like this would be a function. And if this open close parentheses weren't here, this would be a property. So I know it can be confusing, but here's a great example. All right, you have an object right here. Properties are just with dot, so car.name, car.model, those are all properties, right? But methods are car.start with the open close parent, car.drive, open close parent, car.break, open close parent. So methods look like this. All right, so just kind of take a mental screenshot of this for now. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Here's a really cool thing and kind of advanced thing that you could do with objects. So I can actually create a net worth field. And what this will do is what I essentially want to do is I want to say, hey, assets minus liabilities. But if I do this, I'm going to run into a problem. Okay, so let's try that. So let's remove all of this and let's paste just net person dot net worth. And let's see what happens if we run this. And it says assets that's not defined. And you're probably thinking, wait, assets is defined right here. So why isn't it just using assets? That's not how it works. So when you're defining an object, because all of this is happening at the same exact time, this isn't like created yet. And so it doesn't know. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to say person.assets, but it also won't really know that. So here's a hack. Here's a way that we do this. Okay. So we're going to create a function, and yes, you can actually store functions inside of objects, which is kind of crazy. Open close paren. All right, and we're just going to do this. This is going to be your net worth function. And what it's going to do is it's going to return, and we're going to say this dot assets minus this dot liabilities. This thing is kind of weird, but what this is referring to is this specific person object that you've created. So it's literally like, imagine plugging in person.assets and person.liabilities. Okay, but you're going to use this. This whole thing here is going to become 100,000, and this entire thing is going to evaluate to 50,000, and then this thing is going to evaluate to 50,000 like this. And then once you return this, it's going to pop up in your console. So let's go back. Boom. This assets, so liabilities, and net worth is a method. So even though we've defined as a function, it is a method, and I'll show you why. Because now in order to call it, if you do person.net worth, watch what's going to happen. It's not going to work. Let's run it. And we just got, hi, my name is Kazi and the color of my shirt is black and my net worth is function return assets. So it just like spit out this entire function. That's not what we want. We want the actual result. So we need to call this method, and this is how you call it. Okay, boom. You call it just like a function, but because it has a dot here, it's called a method. Right? So the person has a net worth method. Now let's run it and watch what happens. Boom, right? My name is Kazi and the color of my shirt is black and my net worth is $50,000. And now to make this code even more dynamic, assets and liabilities should be passed by the user. Okay, so that could be like another thing that might be nice. Right now it's hard coded, but that's okay. We can just kind of leave it as is just to kind of show you that you could do some more advanced stuff with objects. All right, so let's run this. Okay, and if you change the name, it'll also work. Change the assets liabilities, you'll get different numbers. All right, so if you got this far, great job. We're gonna hit run on this to just make sure we're Gucci. But if you got this far, you're almost an object master. So good job, okay? You probably don't know like everything there is to know about objects, okay? But like you know more than 98% of the population. So you should be proud of yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back right about now. Go ahead and do that for me. And you're beautiful and you matter. And I'm happy that you're here. So thank you. Warms my heart. All right, with that said, let's continue. All right, now let's keep having more fun with arrays, because the more practice you get with arrays and loops, the better of a programmer you're gonna become, because honestly, that's like 90% of what you're doing in programming. You're usually getting back a lot of data and you're looping through it and you're doing something to it. Okay, that's like super common. And so let's just get a bunch of different practices in. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make another function. And this function we're going to make is going to be called letter counter. Okay, so let's go letter counter. Okay, you can also call it counter, whatever you want. And we're going to use it making an arrow function. All right, and basically what this function is going to do is it's going to take a look and see how many letters are in a given phrase. Okay, so if I gave it a phrase, let's say const phrase is equal to, hey, can you go to grocery store with me? Okay, whatever. All right, this will go through this whole thing and it will basically just count how many letters there are. Okay, let's call it how many letters. And so you're just going to go through and this is going to be a 1, this is going to be a 2, this is going to be a 3, a 4, a 5 for the empty space, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can do this, you can count an empty space as a letter. That's totally fine. So think about how you're going to write a function like this, right? Think about what are you going to need to do? Well, you're going to need to loop through this. And the cool part is you can actually loop through these types of phrases. You can loop through strings as well. First, let's comment out anything we kind of have up here. Okay, perfect. And now in here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, let's write a loop. Okay, I'm going to say for letter in phrase. And let's see if this works. And let's do console log and we'll say letter. Okay, and let's hit run. And let's see what happens. Okay, it's running. Okay, so what we need to do in order to make sure that this actually runs is we need to call this function that we just made, right? So let's go right here. And I'm going to say console log and we're going to say how many letters. Okay, and let's just call that function. And there we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it ends with undefined. Okay, all good. So this keeps looping through. And then it just prints out the letter. That's what we're looking for, right? And we actually don't even need to call console log here because we're printing out from the function. So let's try running this. And now you see there's no undefined, right? And we go from 0 to 40. But it needs to start from a 1. And if you think you're getting this or you know how to kind of solve this, or if you even want to try, I highly recommend you just pause my video right here and actually give this a try. Okay, go ahead and try to like do this on your own and then you can come back to this. But I want you to get a ton of practice with this stuff because that's how you're going to get better. Not just by watching me, but by doing it with me. That's how you're going to get better. So if we want to count the letters in here, right? Or this how many are in there? We can't start counting from 0, okay? So what I'm going to do is we can just make it where if I'm getting a letter here, right? Oh, and if you were a little bit confused, like, wait, how are we, when we run this, how are we getting the numbers with this for loop, right? So you can also say for const letter. And if you change this to of, because remember I taught you for of loops earlier. So if you do letter of phrase, you're actually going to, and you run this, you're going to get letters, the actual letters. All right. If you run, letter in phrase, it's going to get you the index at each one of those, right? So if you want to get 41, well, what we want to do is just do letter plus 1. Okay, so this will just increase it by 1, whatever it is. And for whatever reason, this letter thinks it's a string, so it was doing that weird thing where it's attaching, 0 plus 1 is 0, 1, and 1 plus 1 is 1, 1. It's attaching itself, so it thinks letter is a string, so just typecast it into a number. So force it to be a number, and then you get this. Okay, so this is like one very silly way of doing this, and you get, oh, I get 41 at the end. So that's it. That's how I'm getting my, this is how I'm counting my letters. But there are better ways, and I'm going to show you in just a second. All right, so now let's talk about better ways of doing this, yeah? So what we want to do is we want to set a variable here that, let's say, is, so we want to say let result equals 0, okay? Let's go here, and we're basically going to say result is equal to number, and we're going to call index, and we're going to say plus 1. Because all we're doing here is the loop already allows us to get up to 41, right? So we know that this is the correct answer. All we want to do is store that correct 41 in result, and then at the end of this loop, we want to just return that result at the end. That's all we're looking to do. Okay, so so I'll give you an example, okay? Let's just do result is index. And here, let's just return result. Let's remove this line. Well, we can keep that line so you can just see how the loop looks. And we're gonna run this function, but wrap it in console log. All right, actually we can do a trick here to make this look really nice. So here we have return result, right? In order to make it, we want to make it look like this. Result is 40. So there's a nice trick we can do in our return. And we can basically say we can return it as an object. So when you print it out, the object is going to look really nice like this, right? And then there's a even nicer shortcut where if you just add in one thing and wrap it up in an object, it's going to automatically set this as the key and use this as a variable for value. So it's going to set the word result as the key and use the value 44 from this. So it's a super cool little hack, and you can use this pretty often. So let's run this, and boom, you can see that result in this case is 40. So now you can see that result is returning pretty much the last value in this entire thing that we get, right? When we print out our indices. So this is like basically saying this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, but we just want to start it off with the 1. So let's go ahead, and all we need to do here to index is we just need to add a 1 to it. And also remember, we need to wrap the index in a string, just like this. Or sorry, not in a string, I'm sorry. Wrap index in a number because it is a string. Okay, so we need to typecast it. Let's run this, and boom, you get result is 41, right? So now phrase, we can change the phrase, right? And again, how many letters is a function that takes in a phrase? So let's extract this argument out now. And instead, we'll put phrase over here, and we'll pass it in the phrase. Okay, so the function itself shouldn't have to worry about the phrase. It should just wait for what the user is going to give it as a phrase. And it says result is 41. Now imagine I change this and I go prompt the user for, write your phrase. Okay, and now let's run this. And now this pop-up happened at the top. So I'm going to write my phrase. I am wearing a nice green shirt. Right? So when we do that, let's go ahead and run this. And I hit OK. And let's see what happens here. Let's hit OK. And right when I hit OK, boom, we got 31. All right, so that phrase has 31 characters. Now here's something sad I'm going to tell you. You can actually replace, there is a method for strings that allows you to calculate the total of, see the length of a string. And that is just dot length. Okay. So for example, if we don't need to open up a shell. Let's just stay here. So say I have a string here. Okay. Let's zoom in so you can see that better. All right. So say I have a string here that is banana. If I just call dot length on this and run this, you notice it'll give me a 6. Okay. And let's say banana wants to know your slogan. Dot length, it'll give me back 32. So a dot length is a property on anything that's of type string. You can call anything that's a string, you can call dot length on it. Okay. And that returns the final answer. So let me zoom out here, which means I could actually remove my entire code, right? And basically just say the result is phrase dot length. Change this whole thing with one line of code, hit run, write your phrase. It's going to say something crazy, and let's see if it can calculate it fast, and it did. And it goes result is 107. Okay, but let's write it in our way, because remember, that's the way you learn how to do it. And right now, it's important for you to manually learn to do these things, because I want you to develop and focus on your skill set. Then once you get better, normally what you would do is, JavaScript string length. You will just like Google this, okay, and see if that exists. And you'll Google this, and you'll go somewhere, and it will say that, let's see, W3 Schools is usually a really good resource. And it's just showing you text, make a text, let it equal to hello world, let length be text.length. And it also allows you to try it yourself. So you could always click that, and you could hit run, right? And boom, it says 12 here. And what if I change this to something random, and let's hit run, and you can see it says 38 right over there. Yeah. So this is how you would normally do it in real life. You just Google these things. You don't have to memorize anything. Okay. But right now, I'm just kind of getting used to having you get used to exercises, do them yourself. Okay. Now let's build it up and take it up a notch. Okay. So let's make a function that sums things. Okay. That's also going to require loops and arrays. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to comment this out, and we're going to comment this out. So we're going to go const sum array. It's going to take in some numbers, and we're going to have a result. We're going to say let result equal 0. Okay. And then we're going to have some kind of for loop action going on here. And then we're going to return the result. And let's just do this trick like that we did last time. And something is going to go in the for loop. Okay, something is going to go inside of the for loop. Oh, sorry, we forgot to put the arrow functions. My bad, arrows. There we go. And what's going to go inside of this for loop is basically going to be, imagine this, right? Imagine how we would do this manually. So say we have these numbers, or let's say we have these numbers. Okay, this, we know that this should, if we ever have 1, 2, 3, 4, we know that this should equal to 10. Now, how are we going to actually sum this up in normal life? What would our pattern be? Well, I probably have some variable, let's just call it result, and I would set it to 0 in the start, or I might set it to whatever this number is right over here. Okay, so you could do either or, but let's just start it with being a 0. Okay, so it starts off being a 0. Then what we do is we loop through, and and the result becomes 1. Then we loop through again, and we do 1 plus 2, and then result becomes 3. Then we loop through again, and we already have this 3 here, so we add 3 to this 3 right here. So we add this to that, and we get result is equal to 6, and then we add 4 to that, and we get 10. So that's how we would do it kind of as a human being if we were to do it like manually and do it with each step. And that's how we're going to do it with our computer. We're just going to have it loop through and keep adding these numbers. So let's go ahead and now write that loop. So again, try to give this a try and see if you can do this yourself, okay? Because what you've learned so far, you should be able to come very close to solving this. So take 5 seconds to do it, and also pause my video in these 5 seconds to try it yourself. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's get back to it. So here we go. I'm gonna say for const number of numbers. All right, and let's just console log number, and let's call our function console sum array. Okay, and let's give it an array. So we're gonna give it this array of it's gonna be called nums. Okay, let's comment out all of this because we don't need that, and let's pass our sum array nums, and let's just run this. Okay, so we get back 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's looping through and printing number out each time. So if I give it an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, it goes, okay, number is 1 the first time, print it out. Number is 2 the second time, print it out. Number is 3 the third time, print it out, so on and so forth. All right, so it's printing this out. Result is still saying 0. So now what we need to do is we need to increment our result. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so again, try to give this a try. And now we're going to do this. So all I'm going to say is I'm going to say result, and I'm going to say result plus, and we're going to do whatever is the new number that I'm getting. Okay, and let's just see if this works. And I'm going to hit run, and it says result is 10. Interesting. Did that really work? Well, let's try it with. And let's add 5 to this array, and let's see if that works. And I'm going to hit run, and we should get 15, and boom, result is 15. Beautiful. Okay, so let's see how this is happening. What is going on? All right, so let's do something to visualize this code and see exactly how this works. So I'm going to copy this. Let's go over to pythontutor.com. All right, and then hit enter. Once you're in pythontutor.com, you're going to go to related services where it says JavaScript tutor, okay, and click that. This website is awesome. So paste your code, and just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to remove any console log because we don't really need that. It's going to help us visualize, so there's going to be no need for that. And we don't need any comments either. It's not necessary for you to remove it, but I'm just going to remove that for simplicity's sake. Then hit this big button here that says visualize execution. So let's click it. Okay, perfect. All right. Now, on the left-hand side is going to be our code. On the right-hand side is going to be visualizing exactly how this code is running. Very important to notice. Also, this red arrow means the next line to execute. So which is the next line of code is going to execute. Okay, so it's already telling us that this is going to be, when I hit run or when I hit next to step through this, this is the line of code that the computer is going to run. And we're just going to go through step by step and see exactly which line runs exactly when. And green arrow will mean the line that was just previously executed. Cool. So this is our function. Let's walk through this. All right. So let's go ahead and hit next. Okay. So now it sees we have a function called sumArray, and boom, it's like, okay, I got you. There it is. There it is. I see it. Let's hit next again. Now it's on const nums, as you can see right here, right? So this is the line that's about to execute next. So let's hit next, and it goes, okay, I see that there is a variable called nums, and it's inside of this array, okay? Or it's this array right here. It refers to this array. And this is a global frame, because this is these are all variables that are outside of this function. So these are accessible from anywhere and from everywhere. Okay, and we'll talk more about scope in the upcoming videos. Now, next line is going to execute is it's going to call this function sumArray with the argument nums. Okay, and then our entire function is going to start running. So let's hit next. Cool. So now we're inside of our function, and the first line of our function is just about to run. So the first line is going to be what result is. Cool. So let's, right now, result is undefined. Okay, but once this line runs here, result is going to have a value. So let's hit next. And boom, result is now set to 0. Now, okay, so this green is just showing you the last line that ran. Now the red is showing you that we're about to start running our for loop. And we're just going to be teeter-tottering in between this line, the for loop line 4 and line 5, and line 4 and line 5, and line 4 and line 5 until the entire loop is done. Then we're going to go to this line here and return the result at the end. Okay, and again, remember, we're going to touch base on scope. But if you put things in the wrong scope, wrong things will happen. For example, if you put this result inside of these squigglies here, right? This is just going to keep returning every single result, but that's not what we want. We want to return the results after this entire for loop is done, right? And then we want to return this result. Okay, so let's run through this and see what happens. Okay, so right now it doesn't know what number is either, okay, but it does know what results is 0. And it also knows that numbers refers to this array right here. Okay, let's hit next. Okay, boom, boom, boom. All right, there we go. And now it says number is 1. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted, right? Number is 1 because the first time we're going through the array, right? It's a 1. That's where the number is coming from. Now let's see what it's going to do to result. So watch what's going to happen. It's going to do result's going to be 1 this time. So it's going to do 1 plus, or sorry, result is 0 right now. So it's going to do 0 plus the number 1. Okay, let's try that. And now you can see result is 1. Let's do it again. Now number is 2. So 2 plus 1, result is going to be 3. Okay. 3 plus 3, result is going to be 6. 6 plus 4, result is going to be 10. Okay, and notice how it was just like boom, 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 boom. It's just these lines running over and over again, right? And now the result is 15. Now the loop ends because there are no more numbers to loop through. And we go to result. Result is 15. And then we return the result at the end, return value, right? And the return value here in this case is this object. It was of type object, and it says result is equal to 15. Okay. So there you have it, a full visualization of a for loop, exactly how it works and what is happening. And hopefully that clarifies things for you a lot further. So I want you to try something. Try writing this function, SumArray, by yourself from scratch. And I know we just did the answer, but I want you to give it a try without referring to this and see if you could create this function by yourself. And if you could, that would be fantastic. And just give it a shot, right? And if you could get this working, see, that would be absolutely amazing. And then check back with this and see how far you got. All right, let's do some more exercises with loops, arrays, objects, whatever, right? Because this is going to make you so much better. So let's make a function called max. So let's do const, let's say find max. Okay, or you could call it max as well. And it's going to take in numbers, and it's going to have, let's say, const result, and then it's going to return the result. Okay, and then we're going to have some loop stuff happen here. Okay, some loop stuff. And here's how the algorithm is going to work. Okay, imagine we have an array of, let's just say 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, imagine we have this array right here. And let's just put commas here because that's how the array would look. We'd have these commas. And what we're going to do is we're initially going to set result to 1. And then we're going to loop through and we're going to say, hey, is 2 greater than 1? Check these. If it is, then result set it to 2. Okay. Then loop again. All right. Is 3 greater than 2? If it is, then set result to this. Then check between these two numbers. If 4 is greater, set 4. If 5 is greater, set 5. And then once the loop is done, it's going to return the biggest number. Okay. And now imagine if, in let's say there was a case where we had a 1 here. Okay, let's see if it would work, if that same algorithm would work there. Okay, set 1 to the biggest number, set 1 to result. Okay, great. Now check between these two. Is 2 greater? Yes, then make 2 the result. Okay, then check between these. Is 3 greater? Okay, make 3 the result. Check between these. Is 4 greater? Okay, make 4 the result. Check between these. Is 1 greater? No. Then don't make 1 the result. Keep 4 the result, right? And then that's how we end up with 4. So that's kind of the algorithm that we would do. Okay, now we just have to code it up. So we're basically going to say set result not to 0, okay? Because imagine, what if you had an array with only negative numbers in it? Well, then 0 would be the biggest number. So that's a common trap. Do not set result to 0. We're going to instead say results is the first item of this array. Okay, we're assuming we're getting back an array, or we're getting an array here. Okay. And then we're going to say is loop. So we're going to say, we're going to write a for of loop, const number of numbers. And basically we're going to say if number is greater than result, in that case, what do we want to do? We want to set result to that number that we just found. And at the end, when we're done with this loop, we just simply return the result. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try. And let's comment out anything else that we might have running. Okay, we don't have anything else running, so we do. So let's comment out these lines right here. Okay, and let's just go console log, and I'm gonna say max, and let's give it numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see what it returns as the max. Yeah, so this is not a const. Let's make this a let, because we are gonna be changing result, okay? So this error is saying assignment to constant variable. So all it's saying is, hey, you cannot redefine a constant. So that's why I'm changing it to a let. Now you can redefine it right here, and we should be good. And let's do that trick again. Let's return result as an object so it looks nice when we print it. And you can see result is 5. Now imagine we have 1, 2, 1, 2. So the max in this array is what? It's the 4. So let's see if it gives us a 4. Yes, it does. Beautiful. Look at that. Let's go 20 now and 10. And let's see if that works. Beautiful. And now let's make this array. Now let's make this massive, right? Like let's just, let's take this right here and let's just paste a couple of times and run it. And look at that. It says result is 20. And if I make this a 3 over here and run it, boom, result is 30. I mean, it will find it. Wherever the max is, it will find that max, right? So this is a really nice function that we have created. Now, let's keep building on this, okay? So this is all going to be making sense, and trust me, this is going to be so important for you once you start getting to building projects and doing those types of exercises. You're going to wish that you spent the time to learn this, because this is going to be a complete game changer for you. All right, so our max function is done. Let's work on a different function now. And what this function will do is it will calculate frequency. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. So we're going to set const frequency. Okay, it's going to take in, let's say, a phrase that somebody will say. And it'll tell you how many times that phrase that letter occurs, okay? So let's just say letter frequency. Okay, so what does that mean? So say I said, haha, here's what it should return. Okay, so if I call the function letter frequency on the word haha, here's what it should return. It should return an object, and the object should say H occurs twice and A occurs twice. That's what it should return. So how do we create this function so it does that? If you want to give it a try, you can. This will be hard because you'll need to use your object knowledge as well that we put together a while ago. But this will be using, summing up numbers, looping through things, iterating, and all kinds of stuff like that. And so incrementing variables. So it's going to be a tough one if you try to solve it yourself, but you should give this a try right about now. And we'll continue in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's continue. So I have letter frequency. How do I determine this? Okay, let's figure it out together. First, let's just go ahead and call this function. So we're just going to say letter frequency, and we're going to give it that phrase haha like this. And let's console log that phrase. Let's delete that line, and let's just make sure that this letter frequency is running. Okay, haha is showing up perfect. Now what do we want to do? We're getting haha. Well, we need to actually start writing a for loop that will start going through all of those letters, because that's going to be important. Okay, so let's go ahead and write a for loop. So I'm going to say for letter, const letter of phrase. And let's just go console log, and we're just going to console log each letter. And let's see what we get. And we get H-A-H-A. Okay, great. Now, this is where objects are going to start becoming very, very handy, because, you know, key value pairs are going to be absolutely clutch for this. Arrays are not a good solution for this, okay? But like objects are. Objects are also great for storing, you know, information in your phone book. Like on my iPhone, when I'm going through, that is being stored in an object. Okay, that's why I have, you know, my name, I can look up somebody by their name, their phone number, etc. And objects are great for that. So we're gonna go and look at something in the console, okay? And that's gonna make our lives a lot easier. So say if we have something called word, and this word has, let's actually call it frequency, right? Or freak. And let's say this frequency has that the H is once, and that's it. Okay, so it has one H in there. Now, if we have a word like haha or whatever, right? Or if we want to just check, yo, is H inside of the frequency? We're actually able to check that. And it goes, yes, H actually exists, because it can, if you do H in frequency, what it does is it looks for H as a key, and searches all the keys inside of an object. Okay, so it goes, yes, H exists. And if I go, you know, because of the word haha, does A exist in frequency? And when I look, it says, no, that A does not exist. That's actually false. So using this, we're actually able to see if we've already stored something in our object or not. Because the way that we want to do this is we want to go and say, okay, so say we have the word haha. Then I want to have a object. I'll just write it out here, and it should loop through. And in the first loop, it should notice that there's a letter H. So as soon as I notice the letter H, I make a key for H. All right. And because I know it showed up once, I set it to 1. So I go, that key is equal, and it has a value of 1. Now, then I loop through that the word again. And this time I see that we have A. Okay, perfect. Well, have I seen A before? No, I haven't. So then I set A to 1. And so far, so good. Okay, then we loop through the third time and I see H again. Well, I've already seen this before. So what do I do? If I've seen this before, am I going to go ahead and make another H and then set that to 1? You can't do that, because in objects, you can't have the same key repeating twice. So we have this key here and this key here. So what will happen instead is we will end up overwriting this key and just do H as 1. And that's what it was in the first place, but that's not the result we want. We actually want to increment this key right here, this H1, right? So we want to increment this 1 by doing +1 and making it a 2. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is we go, hey, does H already exist? And we do this little checker here, right there. And if it says, yes, H already exists, then we go to H and add 1 to its value. So it goes, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. So we go to this, and this becomes a 2, right? And then we go to the fourth letter in haha, and we do the same thing. And we go, hey, does A actually exist in frequency? And in this case, it's supposed to be a true. And it goes, yes, A does exist. And so if that's true, we then go, okay, find the existing A, find its value, and increment its value by 1. And then we get 2. Oh, okay, so that's how that works. That's how that works. So let's go ahead and basically say that algorithm, but in code this time. So first, we're going to make a frequency object. And that's going to store all the memory / all the data of what it has seen so far. Okay, so make a frequency object. Okay, it's going to be called frequency, kind of like we did here. Okay, but in the start, it's just going to be empty. It's going to be an empty object. Then we obviously loop through all the letters of the phrase, and we check if that letter that we found in phrase, does that already exist in frequency? So check if letter exists in frequency. So you make sure to, we're kind of writing pseudocode right now because we're just writing it kind of like code, but in English. And then later you just turn it into code and then you're done. So if we check if the letter exists in frequency. Okay, what next? Well, if it exists, remember, if it exists, we're going to increment by 1. Otherwise, we set it to 1. So let's write that. Check if letter exists in frequency. If it exists, so this is going to be indented because this is going to be nested inside of this if condition. And we're going to say if it exists, well then increment the value by 1. Otherwise, set the value to 1. Okay, that's essentially all we're doing. And so now take some time to see if you can actually write this as code. And then obviously at the end, we're just going to return that frequency that we created. Okay, so we're going to return that frequency. So let frequency equal an empty object. So see if you could code up the rest of this. Okay, take maybe a minute or 5 minutes or whatever. And even if it takes you 20 minutes, it's totally fine because this is normal. Okay, you're not supposed to get it this fast. This is supposed to take you a lot of time. But take some time. I'll give you 5 seconds to pause the video and try it on your own. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do it together now. Check if the letter exists. So I'm going to say, how do I check? Well, I just check by doing letter in frequency. Okay, does that letter exist in frequency? This will evaluate to true or if false. That's it. I'm going to say if letter is in frequency, then do the following. Okay, then we're going to say increment the value by +1. So how do we do that? Let's do that right now. We're just going to say frequency of that letter. So we're creating a new key on the fly. And we're going to say equal to whatever it was before +1. Okay, so it's like whatever frequency of the letter previously was, just like incremented by 1. Okay, if it doesn't exist, which is the only other scenario, then what we can actually say is we can go and say, hey, set the frequency of that letter to 1. That's it. And then we just return that frequency. Okay, so let's try it on this word haha and see what we get. And look at that. We get H is 2 and A is 2. That's crazy, right? Like we just coded that up from scratch and it works so nicely. And let's try lol, what are you doing later tonight? Lol, haha. Okay, let's run this. And it just runs through every single letter right here. And it says L happens about 5 times. Is that true? Let's see. L, 2, so 1, 2. And then we got 3, 4, 5. Yep, so that looks like it happens 5 times. And it says how many times O happens. And it says how many times a comma happens, how many spaces there are. And it just shows you the whole freaking thing, right? So frequency is working as expected. Now, one thing I'm going to show you is called, these are incremental operators. Okay, at least that's what I call them. And they are plus plus, minus minus, plus equals. Okay. plus equals 1. And so these are incremental operators. They're really, really helpful and make everything shorter. So for example, this over here, you won't ever see it written like this. If somebody's coding this up, they're going to write this like this. Okay, so it's going to say plus equal 1. So plus equal 1 is the same thing as frequency letter is equal to frequency letter plus 1. So these two are equal, and I just want you to kind of get used to seeing them. Okay, and we can go and change some of our stuff above as well. So like where it says result equals result plus number, right? How could we change this here? Try it on your own. Take about 5 seconds, and this you should be able to do in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You could change this with a plus equal. All right, incrementing it like that. Okay, and if you're incrementing something by 1, here's the cool thing. You could also just do frequency plus plus. And this just means that you're incrementing frequency by 1. So let me try hitting run. You can see that this works, right? You can hit run on this, and you can see that this also works and gets the same result. And we can, or you can go back to the oldest one and see we get the same result. So it's a matter of preference. You never want to write it the long way. You won't ever see it written the long way. And you could write it in between these two ways. So you could go plus equals 1, or you could go plus plus. Either work. Okay, so I just thought you should know those. You could also go minus minus, and that will like decrement it. Okay, and so I'll just leave this as plus equals 1 for you, just so you can wrap your mind around this and get used to seeing it. Okay, so these are incremental operators. They're very, very useful and very commonly used. Now I'm going to remove all these comments, or I can just leave them here because this might kind of hurt your brain a little bit. How's this frequency thing working? So I'm going to leave that here for you. All right, now let's just keep building on this, and let's keep taking it a step further. So now instead of letter frequency, let's improve our skills and do something called word frequency. Okay, so we're going to build a new one. I'm going to say const word frequency, and see if you can try to challenge yourself to take a stab at this phrase. And then we're going to run this function. Okay, and we're going to do the similar type of approach. We're going to create frequency here as an empty object, and we're going to return frequency at the end. All right, and inside of here, we're going to do our coding. Okay, and this is where we're going to be doing our logic. Now, here's the one interesting part here. I'm going to comment this out. Obviously, let's comment that out. Let's go ahead and console log word frequency to make sure it's running. And let's give it a phrase. The phrase is lol, what is going on? Lol, what? Lol. Let's just say that, okay? LOL, what? LOL. So we know that if we run that, here's what we should get. So if I run this function, so let's have an example. And this is also really good for documentation, because by looking at this, people can know how to call your function and then what your function actually returns at the end. So I'm going to say word frequency, and if I call this function with this phrase, lol, what, lol, it will return the following. It'll say LOL occurs twice, and what occurs one time. Okay, just like that. And this is what it should return. So how do we make it so it does that? Well, I have to teach you a couple of things for this. So say I have a phrase, and let's go phrase is equal to LOL, what, LOL. So what we would really love for to happen is, imagine we had an array and it had things like this. That'd be really nice, because if we loop through something like that, right, in an array, it would just loop through the words, and we want to loop through the words instead of letters. That's the only difference here between last exercise and this exercise. Okay, so then the question is, how do we get it into an array so we can loop through it? Because if you try to loop through it in a string, watch what's going to happen. Okay, so if you try to loop through in a string, it's going to loop through and print out every single letter from here. So let's try to write a loop and loop through this. So I'm going to say for letter in phrase console log letter. Okay, and we're going to hit enter. We're going to close the parentheses and run this. Right, and it's just gonna, oh sorry, not in. Let's run that loop again and say of. And it's just gonna print out every single letter. Well, that's gonna be confusing because it's gonna count letters for us, and instead what we want to do is we want to count words, entire words, right? And words in this case are separated by what? What's a common thing all of these words are separated by? I'll give you a hint. They're separated by these spaces, okay? So we can do something cool in JavaScript. We can turn this into an array. And if we turn this into an array, so let's say I give you phrase, and if I call this method got split on it, it's a string method. And I say split it by spaces, and I hit enter. Watch what it's going to do. It's going to turn that into an array. And now that array very clearly has 3 items. And if I loop through these items, watch what's going to happen. So I'm just going to call it array. Okay, and then let's just loop through this. So for word in array, console.log word. I'm sorry, I'm just used to Python. So it's for of. So for word of array, yeah, lol, what lol. So look at that. I'm actually looping through the words in that array, and I can now in my object see if this word exists, and if it does exist, then I can increment it by 1, and if it doesn't exist, then I can just set it to 1. So it's the same exact thing, but just with words this time, and all you have to do is turn it into an array of words, and then you're good. So let's give it a try now. What we know. So we're gonna, once we get our phrase, okay, what's the first thing we're gonna do to it? What's the first thing we're going to do to that phrase to turn it into an array? We're going to do phrase dot split. Yeah, this is going to turn it into an array, but we need it to be separated by what? It's separated by spaces in this case, okay? So boom, this is going to give us what we need. So now let's go ahead and let's just call this words, okay? And now let's console log these words and hit run and watch what happens. Now I hit run and watch. I got lol what lol. Okay. If I have hello here and I run it, lol what lol hello. Yeah. So now it's doing what we want it to do. Now the algorithm is going to be pretty much the same as letter frequency. Very, very similar to that. So we're going to basically use like a similar formula, okay, that we did here. So we're going to say we're already creating that frequency object there, yeah? And then we are returning it. That's good. So we're doing that here too. We're creating it and we're returning it. So that's good. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to say for const word of words. Okay, let's just console log the words for now, and let's just see what it's console logging. So let's run it, and you can see that it goes lol what lol. Perfect, just every word. And we're going to do the same thing. Check if it exists in the frequency. If word in frequency, then we're going to say we're going to increment it by 1. So we're going to go frequency word plus equals 1. Else frequency word, set it to 1. And at the end, return frequency. So let's try this. And boom, look at that. LOL is twice. What is 1 time? And it's already working, right? That's crazy. So let's go yo, 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 and let's run it. And here we're going to see that yo is coming out 3 times, lol is coming out 2 times, and what is coming out 1 time. So, I mean, this is so cool. We just made it, but there's something we can do to make it even better. I want you to notice the similarities between this and the letter frequency thing that we wrote, yeah? And instead of calling it letter frequency, let's just call it, actually, let's leave it as letter frequency. That's fine. But they're very similar, right? The code here is very, very similar to the code we have here. For example, we're creating a frequency object. We're creating a frequency object. We're returning frequency. We're returning frequency, right? We have a loop that we go through. We have a loop that we go through. If it's detected in the frequency, incremented by 1. If it's detected in frequency, incremented by 1. If it's not detected, set it to 1. If it's not detected, set it to 1. My gosh, there must be something we could do because it looks pretty much like the same exact thing. And watch, there's something brilliant that we can do. So we can actually delete this entire for loop. Let's get rid of this console log. We can delete this. Let's get rid of this return here. Let's get rid of this frequency here. And the only new thing we need in this is we just need to split it by spaces to break it into words, right? And let's go const words. Sorry, I keep forgetting the const sometimes. And all we do here, okay, and this is going to be so beautiful, is we call our letter frequency function that we created earlier, and we just pass it words. And then it'll know what to do with it. So it goes in here, and then it has instructions for what we need to do, right? And all we need to do here is just say return. So let's try running this. And look at that, you guys. We are getting the same exact answer, and it is completely correct. Yo is 3 times, what is once, LOL is 2 times. Okay. Now, if this is not blowing your mind, think about it like this. When you go to Google, right, and you type in Kanye West and it starts auto-completing, it's using the same thing because it knows what are the things that are being searched frequently. And because it knows their frequency, it's showing them here. So for example, maybe this search over here, right, this Kanye West runway, that might be done, let's say 10 times. Kanye West net worth might be done 5 times. Kanye West girlfriend might be searched 3 times. Okay, it's just an object. And then Google is sorting it and showing you based on the ones that were the most frequent. That's the really cool part. And this is why, once you learn this here, all you need to do is be able to attach a front end like this, and boom, your apps are going to be absolutely amazing and mind-blowing. So let's try this now, okay? Let's try our own function with different inputs. So we're going to say const user input is prompt, write your sentence, right? And we're going to replace this with whatever the user types in. So we're going to say user input here and call this. And yeah, let's go ahead and run it. Write your sentence. And we're just going to say Kanye West has great music, but West Side is greater than East Side. Yeah, because I live on the West Coast in California, and then you got all these people in New York, and I like that my time gets back. I get my 3 hours back when I come to California instead of losing my 3 hours when I go to New York. So if you're in New York and you want to earn 3 hours back of your life forever, come to California. So let's try this. Yeah, and probably the only thing that occurs twice is West, I imagine. Okay. And then let's just write Kanye is also the GOAT. The GOAT. That's not going to work. The GOAT. Okay, let's say the GOAT. And let's hit OK and run it. And it came back. All right. And it broke it down. And you can see it did a full breakdown of every single word. Kanye is 2, West is 2, has is 1, great is 1, music is 1, bud is 1, side is 1, is 2, and the goat is 2, the is 2. And it did it all so fast and so quick. All right, so we did a lot of challenges and exercises. And if you want to deep dive and do like a full-on boot camp and master arrays and objects, then I recommend you deep dive into exercises, okay, where we'll have additional exercises for you. And Lance, he is going to be your boot camp instructor for those. Okay, so if you want to become like a legend, he's going to help you turn into a black belt. My job is to take you from white belt, turning you into a blue belt. He will do that. So if you want to, for example, you know, because I'm going to move on to different topics now, but if you want to just keep exercising this, you can do that. You can do that by going into, say, this exercises folder on the left-hand side. By the time you're watching this tutorial, we'll have a bunch of more exercises. Right now, we have this one here that says convert hours to seconds. You click that, okay? And then Lance has this exercise prepared for you. There's a REPL that you'll have to copy, okay, and paste in your URLs. And you'll be able to fork this and be able to code it on your own. So this is the REPL that Lance has created. And if you want to be able to do it on your own, hit fork at the top, okay? And then you can actually run this REPL, okay? And you can write your code here, and you could write your solution here, okay? And what Lance will also be doing with some of these exercises, he'll also have a link at the top with a Loom video where you'll be able to click and watch his video explaining that exercise, explaining that project in detail as well. Okay, so think of him as a solid, you know, boot camp instructor that just like kind of dives deep in with you. All right, so those are going to be the extra resources available to you. With that said, you're doing amazing. Pat yourself on the back. I mean, wow, you're doing an excellent job so far by being here. You're putting in the work. You're putting in the effort. I mean, you could be doing so many things. You could be playing with your kids right now. You could be outside hanging out with your friends. You know, you probably got off of work and you're putting in that time to learn this. I mean, that's huge dedication. You're taking time away from all this other stuff you could be doing and doing this. And now, granted, coding is a lot of fun. But if you're in this stage, I know you're doing it for learning. And I tip my proverbial hat to you. Huge props for making it this far. With that said, let's keep on rocking and rolling. Whew, that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed watching that video and learning more about JavaScript. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because this is a channel where we help you become an incredible developer. I love your beautiful face, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.